All right, everybody, it is playoff time in Texas. This is the TexAgs High School Football Show. I am Ryan Brauninger, my colleague Jason Howell up there in DFW as we get ready for elimination play across the Lone Star State. But very quickly, because we're going to do a lot of predictions here on the show today, we do want to get to what we saw last week, and we always start with Jason in the Metroplex. So, Jason, real quick recap of what you saw and what you liked.
Well, Thursday night I got out to Allen to see the Eagles put it on Denton Braswell. They got out early and took control of that game from the get-go. Michael Hawkins had a couple touchdown passes to Jordan Tyson, Colorado commit, a receiver, and it was there was no looking back. Nato, Mozolo, DJ Hicks, Zeno, Mozolo all looked apart, all did some big things. And then on Friday night, I was out in Argyle, got to see Jaden Scarlett and another set of Eagles do their thing as they pulled away in the second half for a 52-30 win over Paris. They got in some trouble early. Paris took a 10-0 lead. Took a 17-14 lead to the half, but Argyle took control in the second half, scored first and never looked back. And overall, just very impressive performances by both teams, especially Allen, who's coming off a loss there to Prosper. So to get back on the right track and grab a district title, go into playoffs on a solid note was a big step.
Well, on Thursday night, I went to Atascocita against Beaumont Westbrook. Really kind of a dull game. Both teams didn't have much to play for. Beaumont Westbrook was out of the playoff hunt due to Summer Creek's victory the night before. Atascocita couldn't win the district, so just about going out and playing and kind of getting through the motions. Bryce Anderson gave it a go. That shoulder still wasn't fully healthy. You could tell that by the way he was running around, just kind of the way he was interacting with the game of football. Just didn't look like his normal self. And then that was a blowout win for Atascocita. And then on Friday, went down to El Campo and saw 2023 running back Ruben Owens and the El Campo Ricebirds, I believe number 2 ranked El Campo Ricebirds, with a chance to make a good run. And I'll tell you this about El Campo. Their head coach, Chad Worrell, I believe came from Brock. He has got a really good-looking group of athletes there at El Campo, not just Ruben Owens. They've got another running back that's committed to University of Central Arkansas. They got a DB that looks really good. They got a good-looking group for a small school, and obviously riding what Ruben Owens has been able to do. I believe over 2,300 yards rushing, ended up with 5 touchdowns the other night. Really kind of a slow night in the first half, or a slow first half. Had a run of about 30 yards for a touchdown, but other than that, didn't do much. Had a 1-yard touchdown run, and then Jason, his first 2 runs of the second half, I believe, were 60 and then 73 yards. And so his numbers really shot up through the roof after that. But and then name to watch out of Needville. It's who El Campo beat. I had no idea that Needville would have any kind of kid that I need to keep my eye on. Their first drive, they get the ball, they go down and score on a bunch of like 12 to 13-yard runs by a kid. And when he scored, he showed some good wiggle and power. And it's like, all right, man, look up this kid's name. Deshaun Burton, class of 2025 running back. So I don't know when the last time we've covered a kid out of Needville was, but we potentially could be down the road. Very impressive freshman running back there for the Blue Jays. But El Campo wins, and with a district championship goes into the playoffs. And speaking of those playoffs, Jason, the goal of this episode will be to predict regional winners in 6A, D1, D2, 5A, D1, D2, and then ultimate state champions from those predictions. And then we will both lay our bets with one small school team across the state that we believe is going to win a state championship. So out of 2A, 3A, and 4A, we're going to pick one team that we believe will win a state championship. So without further ado, let's get after it, Jason. So we will start 6A, Division I, Region 1. Give me the team that you think is going to win it, and then probably the runner-up or your dark horse team.
I got to go with South Lake Carroll. Been the most consistent team. so far out of that group, but you got a lot you could choose from there.
It's a pretty
Uh,
good group.
I'd probably go with Euless Trinity. Ollie Gordon's capable of taking a team a long way, and it's not just Ollie. Everybody's going to focus on Ollie, but uh, he's got that mentality. I could see him putting Euless Trinity out there and leading the way. But that is a tough region with Allen, Louisville, and Martin in there.
Yep, and get me South Lake Carroll as the regional winner there as well. My runner-up or my dark horse, maybe Arlington Martin. I love Javian Toviano.
Yeah.
Tristan Biddle, the running back's been fantastic this year. I'll take the Warriors as my dark horse team. But that you're looking at a Euless Trinity Allen matchup in round 2 in that region. Going to be really, that's what we call a tasty affair there in DFW. Region 2, 6A Division 1. Jason, you got a winner?
I think it comes down to Duncanville, Westfield, and I'm gonna be a Dallas homer. I'm gonna go Duncanville. They've really played well throughout a really tough district, and I think they have enough to pull it out. But yeah,
There, I think it'll be Duncanville too, but this region's full of landmines, right? When you look at
yeah,
the Woodlands versus Spring in the first round, that's a great matchup. Rockwall, we know they can score with anybody in the state. Spring
yeah.
Westfield, Klein Kane. Like there's a bunch of potential hiccups on the path to Arlington for Duncanville in this region. I'm going to pick Duncanville. Give me Spring as
Oh,
my dark horse. I'm
I
going to
like
end up actually, nope, I'm going Westfield. Westfield beat Spring by 10 in the regular season. I think Westfield going to end up being too deep. So we're going chalk here through the first 2 picks. Duncanville and then Spring Westfield as my runner-up there. Region 3. Now we're getting in more my neck of the woods. And I think this one, boy, there's one heavyweight, but they've looked like they've had some, potential holes throughout the year. What do you think, Jason?
I got to go with North Shore. I'm echoing.
I think you're okay. You're echoing on
Uh,
your end?
yeah.
Now you're good.
Well, I'm gonna go North Shore.
Okay.
But I like Atascocita to really push them. But yeah,
Yep, that
North
could be a
Shore.
district rematch. Look out for Katie Tompkins in the region. Look out for Dickinson there at the bottom. Fort Bend Ridge Point's had a really good year. Fort Bend Ridge Point pushed Katy very early and had some really good wins there early on in their schedule. So I'm actually going to pick Atascocita to win the region. We talked early in the season about how that schedule that they played where they went up to Dallas twice and played Allen and played Denton Guyer, that was for these moments in the playoffs. And I do think it's going to be a North Shore versus Atascocita regional final. And I think the Eagles find a way to overcome their district loss and win the game. They got Gavin Session, their quarterback, is out, but I liked what I saw at a 2024 quarterback there, Zion Brown. Atascocita really good up front. They've got the recipe that they could put it together down there and make a run to win the region. Now, Region 4 is full of teams that we don't see as often. So I will openly admit our Region 4 picks are going to be more of a stab in the dark because these aren't teams that we've seen as often. So, Jason, who do you like? 6A Division 1, Region 4.
I'm going Lake Travis. Just what they've done over the years and what they've got going this fall. It seems like a lot of the same. But I'm also looking at in the San Antonio area. You got Smithson Valley there. You got San Antonio Brennan. Brennan is undefeated on the
Yep.
year. If I got to pick a runner up, I'm leaning towards Smithson Valley. But I think Lake Travis goes ahead and ends up being that region champion.
Now, Lake Travis's 2 losses. One is to Austin Westlake, and the other, who am I? Did they play DeSoto early?
No, they played Rockwall.
They lost to Rockwall, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, not as invincible as some previous Lake Travis teams. I'm going to pick San Antonio Brennan to win the region.
I like it.
And I'm going to pick Round Rock as my number 2. The
There you
Dragons,
go.
who upset Lake Travis, right? Was it last year or the year before? They got them early, and Round Rock beat them. So just as a opportunity to do something different than picking chalk in every bracket, give me the Bears of San Antonio Brennan, and then watch out for Round Rock, the Dragons there out of North Austin in that 6A Division I Region 4. Moving on. Oh, actually, we got to pick a state championship, the state champion. Who is it, Jason? I'll let you go.
Well, I think it's going to come down to South Lake and North Shore, and I'm going to go South Lake.
So you think they get over the hump?
Yep.
And bounce back after last year's defeat to Austin Westlake. I will go Duncanville versus Atascocita, and I'll give it to Duncanville. They came up empty a few times against North Shore. I think when they don't see North Shore in the final, I do think that they started to right a lot of their wrongs later in the year, and you even said they were playing much better. They started to figure some stuff out. And I don't know that anybody talent-wise in the Metroplex or the state, for that matter, can keep up with them. So give me Duncanville over Atascocita in the state finals. All right, 6A, Division II, Region 1, and I think there's a big-time favorite. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'm going Denton Geyer in this one. I think they have the goods to pull it out there. And as far as a team that could be the runner-up,
if we're being honest, it's not a very deep region.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta look at.
I'm gonna pick Geyer. Maybe Hazlitt Eaton.
Maybe. I'm looking at it, man. It's not looking good for a whole lot of teams out there outside of Geyer. Maybe Marcus.
Yeah,
Marcus done well. Prosper's capable on any given day. I mean, they beat Allen, so they can stand up and play toe to toe, but they can also lose a clunker too. So, but I like Marcus. Marcus has been playing pretty well towards the end of the season. So give me Geyer to win it and Marcus as my runner-up.
I'll agree. All right, Region 2. Here's where I think we may have some differences because there are a trio, maybe even a quartet of teams that I could see winning this region.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go with Rockwall Heath, but I'm going to say this. If Connor Wigman is healthy or close to healthy, if he's 100%, I could see Bridgeland easily doing some real damage and making a real run. But Rockwall Heath, give me those guys from on the east side of Dallas. I think they go ahead and pull it out.
Well, you've got an undefeated Garland there at the top of the bracket and kind of under the radar, really talented roster. Cedar Hill's up there, but not the same Cedar Hill that we're used to seeing. I agree, though, Jason. I think you look at Garland, you look at Bridgeland, Rockwall Heath, Temple, very intriguing team at 8-2 right there in the middle.
Blowing people out, too. And let me tell you, they got a tough matchup. That Waxahachie team can push anybody.
Yep.
They're playing really tough right now.
And then there at the bottom is Harold Perkins and Cy Park. And nobody has stopped them all year. That, like, wing T attack with all the athletes that they've got in it, Harold Perkins is acting like he's the best 2022 running back in the state of Texas. I'm torn here. I'm going to pick Cy Park to win the region. And I'm going to pick Bridgeland as my runner-up. I just, you kept wondering about Cy Park, who was ever going to slow them down. At some point, is that offense because it's simplicity? Will it get figured out? And nobody's done it. Nobody has done it. They just keep scoring a bunch of points. And I'll say this, they got a matchup with Coach Kevin Flanagan and Tomball on Thursday night, and that's not going to be easy. That might be one of their tougher games of the season. Tomball has put up some really gaudy offensive numbers this year as well, and Tomball's got a sneaky good roster full of kids that are like, they got a Wyoming commit, some FCS, non-Power 5 guys. So I'll be interested to see that. But Rockwall Heath don't stop anybody. That's my big question. It's
going to be a shootout.
Will they play enough defense to be able to make a state title run? But I think if those two match up, I'd give the athlete advantage to Cy Park. And so that I'm going to pick Cy Park to win the region with a nod towards Bridgeland because you don't ever count Connor Wigman out of anything. All right, Region 3, Houston area, Region 6-8, Division 2. I think we both can pick a winner here.
Yeah, I'm going with Katy. Almost went with Shadow Creek there. Now, Katy is my pick, and Shadow Creek's my runner-up.
Katy is my pick. My runner-up is actually not Shadow Creek. My runner-up, my second-best team in the region, is actually who Katy will get in the second round, and that's Houston Stratford. They've had a fantastic season, and 10-1 or 9-1, excuse me, with a second-round game pending between Katy. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. Keep an eye on Clear Falls down there at the bottom at 9-1. A couple of really good athletes there. All right, 6A Division 2, Region 4, and again, pretty easy.
I think this one's a slam dunk, though, with Westlake. But you got to keep an eye out on Cibolo Steel. They have been they handled a pretty tough district with ease, and they're always strong. They're always tough. They play great defense. They always have athletes, many of who aren't as highly touted as some of the Jalen Joneses out there. But Cibolo Steel, they're playing a tough brand of football. I think they can push Westlake, and but I got to go with the Chaparrals.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Austin Westlake again, second, just like you, second best team, Cibolo Steel. There are some really good records in this region when you look at Austin Vandergrift, San Antonio Johnson, New Braunfels, so Harlingen South undefeated. So some teams that have had some really nice regular season, but man, nobody's even sniffed Austin Westlake all year. All right, Jason, so pick your state champion. I think we're both going in the same direction.
I'm going Denton Geyer and Westlake in the championship game, and I got to pick Westlake. I know Jackson Arnold's going to be looking for revenge for his freshman year beating after he came in for Eli Stowers in that game, but Westlake's just got too much.
Yeah, Austin Westlake's my state champ pick. I don't know that I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to pick Geyer. As much as I want to pick Cy Park to continue kind of their Cinderella run, again, it's a pretty new school. Last year was their first trip to the playoffs. This year, their first district championship. I don't know. I mean, it would be a fantastic run for them to get to a state semifinal, but I just don't know if they've got the depth that Denton Geyer does.
And Geyer has some real athletes on defense too. They they got some dudes that can play some ball. So if anybody can match up with a team like a Cy Park, I would think Geyer's defense would have the dudes to do it.
And I would, like, if Bridgeland comes out of that region too, I'd love to see a Connor Wigman versus Denton Geyer defense. That would be a lot of fun to watch, that chess match. All right, moving down, 5A, Division 1, Region 1. There has been a consistent winner out here, but there's some new names. What do you think?
I'm going with Amarillo Atascocita. They took it on the chin last week.
And quarterback's hurt.
Yeah.
Major Everhart's going to play quarterback from what I understand.
I'd like Atascocita. I like the that they have been tested. They've played some teams out there. So they've faced some stiff competition, and they're just always tough. They've got that playoff mentality. But Colleyville Heritage is one to watch. I know you've been bringing them up.
That's my pick. I think Colleyville Heritage wins the region.
I don't like, I'll be honest, I think they come from a pretty weak district. They have, and they haven't really been tested. And I think that could be a situation where it catches up with them a little bit.
Well, I'm picking Coach Martin. I'll ride or die with that guy. That's my Manville guy. But keep an eye on Amarillo, the Sandies,
Yeah.
8-2. And anytime that you've got to match up with up there in the Panhandle, you just don't know. And you're going to meet them at neutral site games in Lubbock sometimes. So just a group to keep an eye on out there in the Panhandle in Amarillo. But I'm picking Colleyville Heritage with my runner-up to be Atascocita. All right. Here's the big one.
The Region of Doom here.
Region of Doom. Group of Death type of stuff. 5A, Division I, Region 2. And, Jason, this thing is loaded.
Oh, goodness. You could pick a state champion out of here with about 4 different teams, I think. I'm going with Denton Ryan to win it, to win the region. But my goodness, Highland Park, Lone Star and Ryan just played last weekend, and the game ended 7-6. Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense at Ryan is ridiculous. They can not only stop anybody, but they can score on anybody. And I just it's Denton Ryan's my pick, but my runner up, College Station. I think College Station probably gives them the biggest test.
Well, College Station beat Mag West 41-20, 3-score lead over the number 10 team in the state, who will look like now they're going to get Denton Ryan in round 2. So that may be a good barometer. And then it looks like College Station, Frisco, Lone Star in round 2 as well. But from what I was told, did not play well at all and had a 3-score win over the number 2 team in the district and the number 10 team in the state. So I'm hoping – I don't know a lot about Frisco Lone Star, Jason, as nearly as much as you do. But I'm hoping we get to see that matchup because we've talked about it all year. It'd be Denton Ryan. It'd be College Station for a trip to the state semifinals. And I'm going to ride with my guys here in town. I'm going to ride with Coach Huff and his group. I go back to what I saw way back in the first scrimmage, and I'm going, who's going to stop these jokers? With as efficient as they are. Yeah, and it may have to be a group like Denton Ryan. And so I think we're both in conjunction in who our top 2 teams are, but we're going to have them flipped. I'm going to have College Station winning the region and Denton Ryan as my runner-up. Okay, Region 3. And there's going to be, I think, potentially some new blood make a real deep run here too.
Well, you talked about this matchup a few weeks ago, but I think it's going to come down to Peyto Manville. And I think Manville got the better of them in the regular season, right? I'm making that up?
No, you're right. Manville won.
I think Peyto gets revenge. I think they pull it out. And if I'm looking for a darker horse, maybe keep an eye on undefeated Dripping Springs.
Yep.
It's just been piling up points on everybody.
Austin Novosad, 2023 quarterback, really talented kid who we've seen a lot at camps in 7-on-7. I'm going Hoka Hay. I think you go look at the pedigree of what Manville's done over the course of their history as a school. Love Katie Peyto's story. Like a lot of their underclass kids, I think they're really talented. That's a roster that's going to see an influx in scholarship offers come this offseason because of how good their tape is for their underclassmen. But just give me the tradition and the playoff knowing how to win ability of Manville. And Dripping Springs, I don't know enough about them, but I know what kind of points they've been putting up. It's always interesting to see what happens when Central Texas meets one of these Houston area teams that's loaded with athletes. Cedar Park was able to run away from Manville. It was a high-scoring affair. But that Cedar Park team was veteran and had a lot of guys that played a lot of football. I don't know enough about this Dripping Springs team, so give me Manville. Region 4, what do we think?
Yeah, I'm going with Flower Bluff, but keep an eye on Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial.
I'm going to take Vets.
They're going to be my runner. Flower Bluff got the better of them here pretty recently. But Veterans Memorial's been going pretty strong.
All right. Well, just for doing something different, I'm going to take Vets, Corpus Christi Vets. And so we've got our 4 region winners in 5A Division I. Jason, who's your state champion?
I think it goes down to I guess I'll go Pato Ryan, and I think Ryan pulls it out.
That'd be an
Gets
incredible story for Katie Pato. I'm going to go College Station over Manville, and I think the Cougars celebrate a state championship here in town. Their second one in, 7 years as a school? Been pretty incredible, all things considered. All right, 5A Division II, and here lies Titletown, Texas. Right there in Region 1. The difference is, no, they're not in Region 1.
No,
they're in Region 2. Region 1 does have a team that has given Aledo a lot of problems, though. Yeah. And they're, for my money, they're going to win it again. I'm talking about Lubbock Cooper.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Lubbock Cooper is the Region 1 champion there, but I'm also watching that Rider squad. They always play a tough brand of football as well. They always have few athletes.
Yep. And they've matched up with Lubbock Cooper a lot recently, I believe, in the playoffs.
Very familiar foes. They know each other well.
Region 2, here's Aledo. But I will say it looks like it's a little more difficult run for them.
Well, that region, we talked about the region of Doom in Division 1. This one's just as stout.
Salty, yeah.
You got Lovejoy, Aledo, Ennis, and South Oak Cliff.
And Frisco.
But I'll be honest, I'm gonna pick Lovejoy. I'm gonna go upset special bit. Lovejoy's coming off a loss there to Liberty, Frisco Liberty, and but I think they have the goods to go. I think, with that offense, that high octane offense, they can go with anybody. And I think Lovejoy gets over the hump this year and gets the Region 2 win. I'll go with man.
You got Ennis down there.
Aledo. I guess I got to go with Aledo for the runner-up. But, man, Ennis, soccer, both not to be slept on.
I don't – you know way more about Lovejoy than I do. But I'm going to pick Aledo, which it's not really going out on a limb, am I? Like I'm picking Aledo to win the region. But it is a way tougher road. But I feel like Aledo's a little bit like Alabama, where every year after they win a state championship, you're going – okay, next year they won't be as good. Next year there's going to be some holes that other teams may be able to exploit in the playoffs, and it never happens. Yeah. They just keep showing up and they keep winning. So I'll pick Aledo with Lucas Lovejoy as my runner-up.
This is not a pick against Aledo or questioning their ability for me. It's just that region is so ridiculous But yeah, it's hard to pick against Aledo, but man.
5A Division II, Region 3. And this thing spans from the far northeast corner of the state all the way down through the Brazos Valley into greater Houston. So, Jason, this is I think probably the most spread out of the big city regions. You talk about Region 1 where you've got some of the El Pasos and stuff. That's obviously spread out. But when you look at incorporating one of the big cities, this one maybe is as spread out as any of them. Who's your pick here in 5A Division II, Region 3?
This one's really tough for me. I'm not as familiar with some of these teams, but Texas High undefeated and looking strong as ever. Montgomery, I know you've talked quite a bit about those guys down that direction. Love Fort Bend Marshall as always. I'm gonna go with the Buffaloes of Fort Bend Marshall to pull out the championship with give me Montgomery as my runner-up.
Crosby's interesting. Crosby upset Fort Bend Marshall on their way to the state final last year. It's a game that Fort Bend Marshall was up by, I believe, like 13 points with 8 minutes left, and then the wheels just completely fell off, which I've never seen them do. Until they get to an Aledo game in the state finals or whatever. I don't anticipate that happening 2 years in a row. And Fort Bend Marshall, for as bad as their district is, their talent level like when they need to turn it on in playoff time, it usually takes them maybe one game where, like last year, they played P&G very close, and then all of a sudden they start blowing the doors off people. So give me Fort Bend Marshall. I think if A&M Consolidated was as healthy as they could be, that round 2 game would be really, really interesting. A&M Consolidated starting a freshman at quarterback. They got 2 sophomore running backs that have been banged up, but both are really talented. So I think if they were getting a fully loaded Lee Fedora squad that may push them in round 2, I think we're going to get Fort Bend Marshall, my runner-up in the region. Man, it might be A&M Consolidated because they're still really good. Let me Texas City. Texas City's a team that I think has really slept on under the radar. Crosby had to beat in that district to win it. So, but I think after Fort Bend Marshall, there's a really good conglomerate of teams that are pretty equal. You mentioned Montgomery, Texas City, Crosby, A&M Consolidated, Marshall. So kind of a ringleader there with a lot of people vying for that number 2 spot in the region. All right, last region that we're going to pick is 5A Division II Region 4. And Jason, I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about any of the favorites in this region.
Yeah, I'm looking. Liberty Hill's always dangerous. Alamo Heights has been doing some big things. Got I want to say a pretty high scoring offense, but I could be mistaken on that. Leander Rouse is also a team that a lot of people outside of the Austin area don't really talk about, but they always seem to be really competitive when it comes to playoff time. Give me Liberty Hill. There's something about that offense and that team always is playoff ready and playoff
very tough.
So I'm gonna go Liberty Hill.
I'll take Alamo Heights. I think they've been in the state top 10 all year and for a reason been the most dominant team in Central Texas out of 5A Division II. So I think they continue their run. I like Leander Rouse as a dark horse, obviously Liberty Hill. And then Brenham down there at the bottom of the bracket. Got some talented players, and I can see the Bluebell folks making a run there. So need a state champion, 5A Division II.
I think it's going to go down to Lovejoy, Fort Bend Marshall, and I'm picking Lovejoy.
All right, I've been wrong twice with this pick. I'm not going to be wrong 3 times. The Fort Bend Marshall Buffaloes win the state championship out of Missouri City. They get to Aledo in the final, and they beat this Aledo team.
That's pick it enough times.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
That's got to happen, right? It's got to happen. But at some point, somebody's got to knock Aledo off their pedestal. And if it ain't Lovejoy in the region, I think it'll be Fort Bend Marshall. Okay, last thing we're going to do. From 2A, 3A, and 4A, the team you're most confident to win a state championship is?
Who? Shiner?
That's
the Brooks brothers.
Yeah.
Give me Doug and Dalton and the boys down in Shiner, Texas.
Now they're not in the same division as Refugio, right?
I don't know.
If they are, that would be my question. But I think they're 2A Division I, I believe.
I'm looking at all these. I've got. Well, you know what? Carthage. Yeah, Carthage probably should be the pick. But give me Carthage and Shiner. I'll go that way.
I'm going to stay local. Give me the Franklin Lions in 3A Division II. That's a team for a really small town. They've probably got 4 or 5 college football players on that team, and you just don't see it at that level. And they were essentially a missed extra point away last year from winning a state title a year ahead of schedule. So I think they enter the playoffs with a chip on their shoulder. And I think Franklin gets their second state title in the last 10 years. So that would be cool for me, at least living in the area and being so involved with youth sport in the area, to see College Station and Franklin bring state titles home through this winter. But we know one thing, Jason, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll probably be very wrong a lot. And if you're watching this and you're a player or a fan of the teams that we did not pick, prove us wrong. We love Texas high school football. Go ahead.
I got one question for you before we go. Who's the guy that you go, they can put a team on, they can
Connor Wegman.
Connor is
Connor Wick. I mean, that's
he's my guy.
Low hanging fruit.
He is one of my guys, but there's a couple others. I think we saw it last year with a running back out of Hallettsville.
Jonathan Brooks.
That took a team to state championship game. I think you could see an El Campo with Ruben.
Yeah, sure.
Owens make a run. I think
you saw it with Jordan Whittington and Cuero.
I would put Ollie Gordon and Euless Trinity up there as well as a team, a guy who could really do some damage in an offense centered kind of around him. So.
Yeah, and give me I guess I'd throw Harold Perkins in there as well. I mean, Cy Park could ride him on both sides of the ball to a state championship, at least appearance at the very least. I definitely think they could do that. So I like that question, and I'm sure we're missing a bunch of guys at the lower levels, especially those smaller schools. One kid can really put the team on his back and pull them through a playoff run. So, Jason, where are you going this week? And then we'll get out of here.
All right, I'm going to see South Oak Cliff and Everman on Thursday night at Kincaid. Should be a lot of fun.
Sock's really good. They could push Alito. Yeah.
2023 corner DB prospect, Texas A&M target, Malik Muhammad in action. Wildman Collie, 2024 receiver, averaging 35 yards a catch, and from what I understand is also a devastating defensive presence if he ever gets on that side of the ball. And they got Javon Thomas back for South Oak Cliff, and he is a playmaker du jour there. And I think on Friday night I'll be out in Mesquite to see Burleson take on Poteet.
Dylan Raiola.
Dylan Raiola, new 2024
that
quarterback
kid can
offer.
Ball. He is a baller. Yeah. His tape is really fun to watch. On Thursday night, I will be at the aforementioned Cy Park versus Tomball game to see Harold Perkins. And then on Friday, I will be at Bridgeland versus Klein Collins. We will have potentially people at the Woodlands versus Spring. We'll potentially have people at Franklin versus Danbury and Waller on Thursday. So TexAgs recruiting team out on the road covering the playoffs as best we can. We'll be right back to tell you how wrong we were about predictions already after 1 week of the playoffs next week, and also recap week 1 of the playoffs and look ahead to week 2. Jason, thank you so much. That's Jason Howell. I'm Ryan Brauninger for TexAgs recruiting team. Signing off till next week.